Chicken fried steak or country fried steak, however you want to call it. I'm going to show you a version that I do. I can think of 15 to 20 different ways to make this. Everybody's got their own recipe. Some people swear by certain ways. So with that said, one of the things that I'm going to do is take a stock, reduce it. I don't see it done a lot. I like to layer the flavors as best I can. One of the ways to do that is by reducing a stock. Another thing that I do a little differently is I'm going to add some beer in the batter. I don't see that done a lot with country fried steak, but you know, it's fried like chicken. Beer batter goes well with chicken, and it goes well with chicken fried steak as well. Today's product sponsor is by Simply Cool Things. They're a small little company. Make sure to check them out. There will be a promo code down below. They sent me a 5-piece wooden spoon set, so we'll be using some of these while we make the chicken fried steak today. So with that said, let's get started on this.
We start with a pot over medium-high heat. We have carrots, onion, and celery into the pot. 1 quart of chicken bone broth gets poured in, followed by another quart of chicken stock. Unsalted, of course, since this will now be reduced. I like to bring it to a boil and then back the heat down to a simmer as the liquid volume gets lower. Just make sure to keep an eye on it and give it a stir every now and again if you do an aggressive reduction. You don't want to scorch it. Once the liquid has been reduced by 50%, add a few sprigs of thyme. Don't add too much thyme though, because at the end of the day, this is a pepper gravy we are making, and we don't want to overpower it with herb flavor. When you feel satisfied with the level of your reduction, pass the liquid through the finest strainer you have. Use a spoon and smash down the veggies to get the rest of the liquid out of them. Yes, you've seen this before, and it's a great way to add depth of flavor to gravy and other sauces. Notice that we started with 2 quarts and now we have less than 1 quart left. That's concentrated flavor right there. In a pan, we toss in a generous knob of butter. Yes, we are starting with the gravy first, and I know that the most traditional way is to make the steak first and then use the same pan to make the gravy, but by doing this backwards, you can have the time to tweak your gravy as you desire without the cooked steak dying in the window, as we call it. Also, if you are making large batches for many people, it becomes very tricky to do the 1-pan method. Anyways, flour mixed with butter starts to form a roux. I add little bits of flour at a time until it reaches a thick consistency. It should still move around the pan easy, but not be too thin and runny. Cook this for about 5 minutes until you really smell the nutty aroma from the butter. You must cook out the flour taste. One thing about a roux that you should know, even though you cook the flour taste out, a roux tends to kill the flavors on you. So it's important to have concentrated flavors in the liquid that you add to it, hence why we reduced the stock to begin with. So here we have a brown roux. The more you cook it, the darker it will be. So obviously it will make a darker sauce. You don't have to cook it this dark, but I think this is the perfect level for this gravy. Switching to a whisk, reduction goes in a little at a time and whisk fast. You want to get all the clumps out for a smooth gravy. I find it easiest to smooth out if you add the reduction a little at a time. Bring the pan to a low boil. It should thicken the gravy upon reaching the boil. Then add in a little cream. I like to add as much cream as I can without thinning it out too much. If you over add the cream, remember you can always turn the heat to low, and over time it will reduce again, thus thickening your gravy. It's time to add in the rest of our flavors. Make sure to taste at this point or you won't know how much to add. This needed salt since I used unsalted stock and bone broth. Paprika goes really nice here. Make sure to take the time and get any clumps out when adding spices. I mean, this is pure comfort food, so take your time with this. Never try and rush a gravy. A little bit of granulated garlic for sure. And the star of our country gravy, black pepper. A lot of it too, as you will see, and fresh cracked for this. I can't stress enough that it needs to be freshly cracked. I started off with about 30 to 40 grinds on its finest setting. I know that seems like a lot, but I ended up doing that 3 times total. Yeah, I know, that's why you taste as you go. It needs it. Look, basically, if your forearms are not sore by the end of making this, then you probably don't have enough pepper in there. Now this is what it should look like. Nice and velvety, creamy, rich, and peppery. It should have a big depth of flavor. On to the steak. We are going to use ribeye for this because it's my favorite way to do it. If you use cube steak, you can skip this step, but in order to tenderize the steak, you need to use plastic wrap. If you don't, then you will pulverize the steak into pieces most of the time. Use more than you think you will need also. Here are thin cut ribeye steaks. Place them so that there is plenty of plastic wrap area around them and fold the wrap over. You need it on both sides of the steak. A mallet usually has a spiky side and a flat side. Use the spiky side. Be firm but gentle when pounding it out. You are tenderizing it, not attacking an enemy. I like to work around the outside first and then even it out in the middle. If you start in the middle, it will split into pieces, especially a ribeye. Look at the size difference. The fat marbling is where it will split on you if you are not mindful and don't hammer it evenly. This looks perfect though. Wet batter time. some eggs in a bowl, 2 glasses of dark beer, one for the bowl, and of course, the other for me. Start beating that up a bit and add some flour in. No exact measurements, you just want it to be a loose foamy batter at the end. I do season this with some salt and pepper. Don't worry, there won't be too much pepper in this dish. Layers of flavor. Mix that in and your wet batter is ready to go. So we have our pounded ribeye, the wet batter, and plain all-purpose flour for the dry. No need to season the flour in this case. I do season the steak though with salt and pepper. Only one side since it's pounded thin. You can see how thin that is. Flour first. Be very delicate so that it doesn't fall apart on you as you do this. Flour both sides. Knock off the excess very gently and into the wet batter. I can't stress enough how gentle you want to be when handling this. It's easy for the thing to rip in half on you. Drip off the excess and back into the flour. Coat both sides nicely before transferring to a wire rack to let sit for 5 minutes so that the flour adheres to the steak. We will pan fry this in a skillet with oil that's hopefully around 350 degrees. If you were wondering, this time I decided to add corn oil. You don't need a lot, just enough to cover the bottom by about 1/4 inch. Now very carefully, using 2 hands so that it doesn't fall apart on you, lay it away from you into the oil. This will only take a couple minutes here. Don't fuss with it too much, although I do like to rotate it if possible to ensure even cooking. You will notice that the outsides start to crispen up. It will pretty much tell you when it's ready to flip, though it doesn't hurt to take a peek underneath to see how the color is looking on the bottom crust. When you see juices start to pool on top, that's a sure sign that it's ready to flip. Always flip it away from you. I shouldn't say flip because it's more like just laying it back down, but you get what I mean. Let it go another couple minutes until the bottom has crusted up nicely. It's fine that it's well done. It's thin and you tenderized it, so this is perfect. Do make sure to place it on a wire rack so that it can breathe for a couple minutes while resting. And I know, all you food police, I'm using the same rack without washing it, but take a guess at how much I care right at this minute. Use 2 racks if you want, before and after. Now let's check this out.
Alright, so we have chicken fried steak with ribeye. The gravy is phenomenal. I did this one right. I've used tarragon in the past. A little too overpowering. If you use tarragon, use just a small amount. We're not making a béarnaise sauce here. We're making country gravy. So anyway, I gotta taste this. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think it's perfect. Well, nothing can be perfect, but that is good. Let me tell you, when you reduce the stock like that, concentrate the flavors, then you season it, a little cream at the end, I think this is spot on. Yeah, I wouldn't change a thing. This is absolutely fucking awesome. I don't have much more to say, honestly. This came out really, really good. I recommend giving this one a try. Like I said at the beginning, there are many, many ways to make chicken fried steak. This is one of them. This is one of my favorites though, and that's why I made it for a video. Definitely give this one a try. Thank you so much to Simply Cool Things for being a product sponsor for the video. Again, there's a promo code, link in the description, a discount for you guys if you guys want to get the wooden spoon set, 5-piece. But definitely give this one a try. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys on the next video.